Hi, everyone, and welcome to the NFL. We have over 100 people, close to 110 people, and I am so happy that they said yes to talk to us about stem cell technology. I have Nick Lowery in the house, Kansas City Chiefs, kicker and Hall of Famer. And if some of you saw his invite, he was sitting by Lee Steinberg, Jerry Maguire, and by Mahone, as he was there at Kansas City when they won the Super Bowl a week ago. I have Ivory Sully, NFL, plays for the Rams and played for the Lions. And Nick is a kicker. Ivory helped me make sure I know this. I believe he was a safety. He was fast. And of course, we got David Hill. I think in his prime, 300 pounds of muscle. He said, nope. How many pounds, David?
When I was playing, man, come on. I was playing 250, 260, yeah.
250, 260. Okay, he would say that he was offensive and defensive, I think lineman, I could be wrong. And they would come at him and he'd say they were like flies. He'd just push them. And so, Ivory, I'm going to bring it to you. And I just like you and Nick and David to talk a little bit about what it's like to play in the NFL, your positions, your highlights, team. Why don't you start that off for yourself and David and Nick?
Well, so you guys know, everybody knows who the athlete in this podcast is, and it's me, okay? Safeties are the athletes, all right? I know. See, I stir David up right away. I can get started. How you doing, David? How you doing, Nick? Nick, it's so good to have you, man. I'm glad to see you too, brother. Brother, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm good. Nice to meet you, Dave.
Hey, what's up? Yeah, hey, you guys, we're all old, man.
Hey, speak for yourself. Are you kidding me?
Well, we are old.
I'm going to jump over that fence today. Are you kidding me? I think it's great, man. So, listen, today we're lucky enough to have a real good mix, okay? We've got all the types of positions. You've got the offensive player in David, you've got the defensive player in me, and you've got the kicker, who is extremely important to the proposition of winning and losing, as we have well seen often, okay? And Nick is Kansas City Chief Hall of Famer. And really, really glad to welcome you into this forum, Nick. And tell us a little bit about yourself, brother. Let everybody know who you are and what you're all about.
Well, we're all Hall of Famers, buddy, but thank you. You and I have known each other for a while. We always connected way back. We were advocates for players and for player health and financial health and wellness before people knew just how hard it was to fight for those rights. And so, in some ways, today's call is all of us putting a vote in for fighting for our right to be healthy, right? And as we get older, we have to own that. We have to be intentional. So a little bit about me is my dad was very senior CIA, and I grew up in 5 years in Europe. My dad was, when he died, I only found out when he died that he was chief of station in London. Literally, if you watch James Bond, my dad was the American M in London when I was 9, 10, 11, way back, 65, 6, and 7, when England won the World Cup. So I was playing soccer all the time, played rugby just for a few weeks every year. And the British people said, wow, you can kick. And went to Germany. My dad was number 2 in Germany for the age of 12 and 13. And then when I came back in 8th grade, started putting the ball on the tee and noticed I had a gift. And so what I love to talk about is that gift and trying to make it in the NFL required me to endure being rejected by 8 teams 11 times. And I just knew I had to keep putting myself out there to be good enough to handle that very unique 1.3, actually 1.27 seconds from the time the ball is snapped back 8 yards, that's 24 feet, caught by the holder, put down, spun, and kicked over 11 very large, highly motivated, well-paid guys who want to kill you and eat you if they can. So you got to kick them through what looks like a pair of tweezers in a game. And so a lot of that is mental. So what became a very difficult trial to make it. I ended up playing 18 years in the NFL, and I'm just proud of the fact that, what most of us deal with in our lives is hanging in there, doing our work, and then it's God's timing and, being patient enough to do that. So I love my life now. And part of the reason I love my life is that I'm very proactive in taking care of my health. And I love the work I do. I do a lot of work with the homeless. I'm a brand ambassador for, I think, the future of mental health. It's called Copa Health. I'm also part owner and brand ambassador for these guys, Tequila, which is not really physical health per se, although tequila is the least unhealthy of the alcohol choices out there. And we won all the awards. So I just, it's a great life because I get to help people. And that's
So,
really
Nick,
the most satisfying thing at all.
Let me ask you, I have two questions for you. Okay, what game in the NFL was like the game where your kick, like, can you give us what game that was where your kick was so important and it won the game?
Well, first of all, everybody got to understand that Marcy knows absolutely zero about the NFL. She's doing her best, and we love her. But actually, I had about 30 games maybe 35 games when my kick in the fourth quarter made a difference. I had 15 game winners in the last minute and a half, 2 minutes to win the game specifically. And during the 80s, the Chiefs were not the best team until Marty Schottenheimer came in 89. So it was even harder because I didn't get a lot of opportunities to do that, but just hung in there. And finally, we started making the playoffs and played in front of a full crowd in Arrowhead Stadium and played with a guy named Steve DeBerg and then a guy named Joe Montana. And we were in the playoffs every year and played with Derek Thomas, who was a true Hall of Famer, and some great other players, and just a great experience. So yeah, kicking the game-winning field goal. Gosh, playoffs against the Pittsburgh Steelers in 1994 playoffs. That was a game winner. I had 3 game winners here in Orange County, 3 game winners in 4 games against the San Diego Chargers in 90 and 91. Those consecutive years put us in the playoffs, and that was pretty wonderful. One was in Jack Murphy Stadium, and one was in Arrowhead, and those were hard-fought games. And so what's different for Dave and for Ivory is, they're in there for 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 plays. I'm in there and my kick may only be one kick, but if I don't make it, it's everything. So you got to manage your state, and so I'm very fascinated by how we handle pressure. And as you remember in the Super Bowl, a guy named Harrison Butker kicked the game-winning field goal at the end. And the 2 weeks before, he had a 45-yarder to beat Cincinnati in a very, very tough contest. And everybody, most games today are very competitive in the NFL. So the kicker's got to be the one who's not, they may say he's not an athlete. Let me tell you, he is an athlete, and he has to be a mental athlete. He has to be able to manage his state under pressure. He might hit 6 in a row, but if he doesn't hit that 7th one, that may cost the game.
Yeah, let's be clear about this. That's what he gets paid for. He gets paid to make them. He doesn't get paid to miss them. And the last 18 years, that really speaks highly, because the rope on their life in the NFL is very short. If you miss a lot of them, you ain't going to play for a long time.
And you won't get one of these.
Oh, well, look at, do that again. Let's see that ring. Does that say, look at that. Take a picture. Somebody take a picture. I'm taking a picture of that. Hold on. I'm taking the picture. So let me ask you, Nick, right there, that's going on, that's going on the recording. So my question to you, Nick, why stem cell technology? How long have you been wearing X39? Or do you like X49? I know you've been wearing these. Why did you even try them from Ivory? Why do you like them?
You know what? I've been listening to my Coach Ivory, and one thing I learned from you is you put it on your face, and you're actually 113 years old, and look at you. Just kidding. But I mean, really,
me or Ivory?
wherever you put it, it's helpful. But I absolutely believe that the core places, right back here, and right down here below your belly button. As we get older, one thing I've done quite a bit of work with nutrition and exercise and training, what you learn is as you get older, it's not so much that you lose strength or you lose speed. It's about it takes more time to recover. And it takes, you need to take more time. You need to make sure you get your sleep, make sure you stay flexible, all those intentional things you've got to do. Well, the outcome of that in busy lives, and we tend to, if we want to have lives that have, meaning to us and help other people, we've got to have energy. It's all about energy. So having energy, having a sense of, one of my favorite words, resilience, right? Resilience is, I've got a little extra in the tank, a little extra. So when I'm going upstairs, I know I've got that little extra, just go right, pop up the stairs rather than, oh gosh, got to go up these stairs. Every airport, I want to do a survey with the people that are listening. Every single time I go to an airport, my gate is always the farthest possible gate. It's always the farthest possible gate. But you know what? I mean, that can be a long way. Like I was in Philadelphia a couple of days flying in here, and it was a long way. But I don't care anymore, because what I do is I simply say, hey, this is part of my workout. And so I know I have that resilient, that extra little, extra bit in the tank. And that's really important as we get older, lining ourselves up for success, because there will be unpredictable things that happen. Let's say you got to carry an extra bag from the grocery store. Your girlfriend's got a bag that's a little heavier than you thought, or you had a longer day. You had whatever it is. Maybe somebody shows up 2 hours later and you were, you had good energy at 4 p.m., but now it's 6. So that's what I like. That is the most important thing to me, because when you have that little extra in the tank, it directly affects your mental clarity. When you have energy, you have mental clarity. And I haven't told you guys this, but I was actually diagnosed by the Hoag Hospital in Newport Beach 7 weeks ago as being pre-diabetic. And one thing that happens with diabetes is absolutely you become aware of sugar, blood sugar, and energy. And so I am much more intentional now to make sure about that. And I think most people would say I look pretty good for 115.
You look pretty good. And I know, Nick, you've been on the X39 for almost a year now, and you just added the X49. So X39, of course, activates your own stem cells to start repairing like you're 20 again. That's why Nick always says, look at how young we're looking, because he knows that he's repairing an X.
I'm 66. I'm 66.
You look 50.
Thank you.
We're all me, David.
I feel like I've always been kind of a kid anyway, but it does make a big difference when you feel up here. You're still 35, 25, 40, but your body's saying, nah. It's really nice when your body goes, oh, hey, we can still do some stuff. We can still, for me, it's making a difference in the world. And I love it. Champions for the Homeless. We just had a fundraiser here last night, and that takes, you're meeting a few hundred people. They all want to meet you. They're excited. You want to let them connect with the excitement of helping humanize the homeless. It's just one of many important causes in the world. And it takes that extra resilience, that extra passion. So I love it, because the more I get to do things that help people, it all feeds off itself. And that's why something like this is really important. And I appreciate you, Marcy and Ivory, for turning it on to me. And I think I've done enough talking. I think I want to hear about Big Dave.
I want to hear about Big Dave too, but I have 2 more quick questions. What's Joe Montana like?
Well, Joe Montana and I were the 2 oldest guys on the team. We were both born in May of 1956. And it was the first, we had some amazing players. We had Joe Delaney, we had Christian Okoye, the Nigerian Nightmare. We had Derek Thomas, just amazing athletes, Neil Smith, but Joe Montana was a rock star. And I'll just tell you how much of a rock star he was. My first game with him on national TV, we're playing Monday night in Arrowhead Stadium in September 20th, 21st of 1993. And it's Joe Montana against John Elway of the Denver Broncos. And John Elway, of course, future Hall of Famer himself, and a nemesis of Marty Schottenheimer, coach teams. And the game goes, and I'm kicking field goals, and I hit a 40-yarder, 41-yarder, 45-yarder, 52-yarder, 38-yarder, and next to me, there's a kicking net on the sideline, so you can warm up before you go out and kick. Well, next to it was this guy, and for a second, it didn't take me long to recognize him. It was Huey Lewis from Huey Lewis and the News, who was best friends with Joe Montana. So literally, you're with a guy who I've never seen anything like it. I mean, he really was a rock star, a living rock star, and a real rock star on the sideline. So Huey and I started talking during the game. It was just kind of surreal, but he's like, man, this is easy for you. I'm like, I don't know. But Joe kept getting us down there, and a guy named Marcus Allen, another first ballot Hall of Famer, Heisman Trophy winner. And we were out scoring them 15-0. And in the end, Denver had a kind of not really a important touchdown with about 10 seconds left. But I got a letter 2 weeks later from the president of the United States, Bill Clinton, who had worked on something called AmeriCorps, which is the domestic Peace Corps in the White House in the off season. And the Rose Guard ceremony to sign the AmeriCorps bill, domestic Peace Corps, the idea of giving kids a chance to serve their country. That's not what your country can do for you. You remember John F. Kennedy asked what you can do for your country. And I get this personal letter, and I get emotional saying it. It's just so beautiful. But I couldn't make it because we were playing a certain little football game. And he wrote me a note, and I have it behind my desk next to the Peter King article in Sports Illustrated about my time in the White House that year. And he said, thanks, congratulations on a great game Monday night. All your national service pals are proud. That was the name of our office, the Office of National Service. He said, I thought of you yesterday when I signed the bill. The kids of this country will be better for it, and so will the rest of us. And so I think of that connected with Joe Montana and our first big game with Joe Montana. We went to the AFC Championship game, and I think we would have beaten the Buffalo Bills, except a guy named Bruce Smith sacked Joe Montana after I kicked my second field goal midway through the third quarter to bring us within one touchdown. And we're driving, and we'd stopped them. We got the ball back, and then Bruce Smith sacked. You know what that means? He tackled really hard. Joe Montana threw him to the ground, and Joe fumbled, and Joe had a terrible concussion. And they scored right after that. Now suddenly it's 27-13. But Joe is just one of those two or three people. I think if people that follow football, if the rules today, and Ivory, I'd love your opinion, and Dave, if Joe Montana had the rules they have today, where he would have been much more protected, he wouldn't have been thrown around like a rag doll by Leonard Marshall and Lawrence Taylor in the 1990 playoffs in San Francisco, Joe Montana would have not had 4-0 as his record for Super Bowls, but maybe 6-0, and with not a single one loss. That's the kind of just incredibly, not just talented, but gutsy player that he was. So it's pretty cool to be with him. And by the way, after that game, the next day, we played Monday night. So Tuesday we go in, then we just had a short day, come in, and it's the cover of USA Today says kicker upstages Montana. So I brought the cover, the front page of USA Today over to Joe's locker, and he gave me a benign finger, like, hey. But that's what you do in the locker room.
So listen,
hope we haven't upset anybody.
Listen, I have to say this. X39 is working in Nick Lowery, because I could not remember half of that what he just regurgitated. Are you kidding me? To him to have those kind of memories. I mean, I'm talking about the yardage of the kicks, not that, but how many he had. I mean, it's remarkable. So what's going on positive in his mind for the stem cells? His mind is definitely activated.
And let's move into the technology a little bit, Ivory.
Let's do that.
Because I wanted to make sure that we understood that we got football, because I know you guys like football. But now, Ivory, why don't you talk a little bit about the technology and why you shared it with David and Nick? And Nick was talking about mental clarity, remembering you and David got dings. Last week we were talking dings, which are hits, concussion. Tell everyone your story and why this technology is working. Let's go a little deeper in really what happens to people like you and David, who are getting so many of the dings. And tell everybody what a ding is, please, Ivory.
Well, a ding is when you actually hear bells in your head, okay? And it is something that David and I, we are part of the and block the situation with what goes on in the NFL. And so if you're going to play in the NFL, you're going to have to know how to deal with hits and how to put your head out of it. Well, back in the day, you didn't used to have type of coaching directive and keeping your head out of the game. So technically, I was probably a terrible tackler, but I was a good tackler because I made tackles. But the problem was I had my head in them. And that was the problem that I had, as well as David blocking those defensive ends and blocking and catching the balls and then taking hits from guys like me. We had a thing that we exposed our head to a lot of trauma. Okay. So the thing that I was being facetious a little bit there with Nick, but I'm very serious that he has a clarity that I didn't think that he would have at 66. I mean, I'm 65. I have reasonable clarity, but I mean, his clarity is astounding to remember all of those things after I have taken the dings. Nick has had a few dings himself now. Don't let him fool you.
So why is the X39 technology good for brain dings or multiple concussions? And I remember David telling us last week that, David, how many dings or concussions would you have a week, a month? Remember what was that you said last week?
Well, I honest with you, I don't know with dings or whatever. I mean, I guess you get a ding almost every time you hit somebody hard. But as far as concussions are concerned, I'm, in the course of my career, college, and I mean, probably like maybe 11, 13, something like that.
11 or 13 concussions, and dings aren't a concussion. Dings are like you're kind of loopy and you get back up. Is that right? Your brain spins.
I mean, people like I probably go to the bench, but people like me, we kept on playing with the dings.
Oh, so
yeah,
Ivory
a lot of the evidence
bench,
too, guys. A lot of the evidence too is I actually just did at the Super Bowl, the Brain Summit with Lee Steinberg and some of the experts on this. But the truth is, Mike Webster was my teammate, and he was the one that Dr. Bennett Amalu studied an autopsy of his brain. And it's not just the concussions. What they found is it is these little dings, cumulatively, offensive linemen with the lousy helmets they had back then. I still have my helmet, and it's just the cheapest kind of plastic. It's better now, but it's just those little dings add up, sometimes even worse levels of what's called chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE. So, I had my share in high school, a few, but we don't even know what happens when a baby that's pre-verbal hits its head against a crib. Who knows how many times that happens. So it's a growing science, but we do know we've got to do everything we can to keep ourselves mentally alert, to keep our cells fresh, and keeping that process, because recovery, it takes longer when you're older.
So, and let me talk about that, Nick, real quick, Ivory. I want to talk about the technology for a minute, just so people understand what this technology is and why the NFL likes it. And then after I do that, Ivory, I want you to give your testimonial. Look at Nick, put that up there so people can take a picture of that. Put your little patch up there. Then I want Ivory for you to come and give your testimonial, and then I want David to give his. So real quick, this is the X39. This is the stem cell activation patch. This is why Nick and Ivory and David are here today, because I'm just going to be honest. They get dings, hit with the little plastic helmets that weren't good in the day, still probably are trouble, right? And then David just said in his lifetime, 14 concussions where you black out. And over time, that causes brain inflammation. And Nick gave the name of that issue where I think that was what Junior passed away from, Nick, where he got highly depressed and killed himself. I mean, this is
You're
serious.
talking about Junior Seau, who was my teammate in the 91 and 93 Pro Bowls. I have a picture on the Pro Bowl field after I kicked the game-winning field goal, and he's next to me, and it just tears at my heart because I've done a lot of work with indigenous peoples, and from the Samoan culture, the level of closeness, of intimacy of a Samoan family, that he would commit suicide 3 days after he was with my friend Mark Walzak, who was his roommate as a rookie for the Chargers. And Mark had come and stayed with him for 4 days to celebrate Mark's 50th birthday, and left through the night to drive back to Phoenix from San Diego. And on a Wednesday, just 3 days later, Junior shoots himself in the heart. And to know that he had 3 children, a wife, a mother that adored him, that lionized him, man, I mean, it's just hard to believe someone would do that, not only to themselves, but to their family and their friends.
And Nick, let me ask you, did they do the autopsy of the brain and find out that he did have this
absolutely.
issue? What was the name of that issue again? Can you say that one?
CTE is called chronic traumatic encephalopathy. So it's manifested in 2 major symptoms. One is called tau protein, and the other is what are called beta amyloids. That's when the individual neurons in the brain have lost their integrity, and they begin to collapse into each other in clumps. They look a little bit like foxholes in the brain. And that's when you know that there's this level. It's also related to dementia and Alzheimer's, but it may well be worse, frankly, with CTE, because there's additional damage as well. And it leads to huge memory loss, huge rage issues, huge mood swings. And, if you watch the movie Concussion, played by Will Smith as Dr. Bennett Amalu, you see, unfortunately, the character playing Mike Webster having to shock himself with a taser to sleep. He had to shock his system because his system was so corrupted in its ability to message pain and rest and energy and choices, that the only way he could sleep for literally 30 minutes at a time was by shocking himself with a taser.
Wow.
So anyway, bottom line is, NFL players, I'm lucky. I played 18 years. I'm blessed. It's the best thing that ever happened to me in so many ways. But we have an obligation, and Ivory has a heart, I know Dave does, to make sure the next generation and the current generation who are living in this time when they're in their 40s and 50s and 60s, some of the players are getting it, in their 20s. And they get suicidal, and some of them get murderous as well. We saw that with Adrian, what's his name? Fernandez, the tight end with the New England Patriots.
That's right.
Yeah. And he murdered a couple of people. He ended up killing himself in jail. So, and
so this is all part of something very serious, CTE, which is inflammation of the brain from multiple dings into concussions because helmets aren't so good. And this is the reason when I talked to Ivory a year ago, he wanted to try X39 because as a safety, he did a lot of hitting, had a lot of dings. David, as a both offensive and defensive lineman, was getting hit all the time. And Ivory came to me and said, Marcy, could this help my brain? Because this is what we're struggling with. And I said, absolutely. I said, X39 is a form of wearable light technology. And inside you will see this white organic material. This is organic crystal made up of amino acids, some sugar, some salt, and some water. And it forms what we call a lattice. This lattice reflects different light. When you put this on your skin, it reflects back a light wave that activates your stem cells, makes more stem cells, and resets those stem cells to act like they're 20 again. Why is this important for the NFL? Because when they were young, Ivory told us last week or a couple weeks ago, that they would hit, and they would then be ready to play a day or two later. But as they got older in their career, it took 7 days to play again, sometimes 14, but they had to play every 7 because they weren't repairing as fast. Then David's getting hit like a car in a car accident every day since he was in college. And let's be honest, David had to support his family. He played defense and offense for over 12 years, getting hit. So what does that do to the brain? And how can this help? Well, stem cells are the only cells in your body that are changeable. They can change into whatever cell your body needs for repair. And that's what happened when you were 20. So what if I could activate your stem cells to work like you were 20 again? They start marching. For Ivory, they would hone into his inflammation and they would travel and they would turn into the cells that they needed to be to repair the brain. For David, it started to turn in and repair the brain and his knees and his elbow. He's playing golf again, and we'll talk about that. But I just wanted you guys to understand why Nick is wearing this, why Ivory and David are wearing these. They want their stem cells to repair because they got hit so much that they have so many injuries. And as they got older and older and older, those injuries really started to become more and more exaggerated. Ivory, can you tell them your story? Why are you on this?
Yeah, so you sat next to me at that convention, and we just became friends. And then you show up here one day with this X39, and it's like, and I think I asked you the question. So Marcy, do you think this thing will help me sleep? Because the number one thing for a human being for recovery is sleep. If you don't get sleep, you will not recover, and the stem cells will not in your body have an opportunity to regenerate. And so the fact of the matter is, I took my little packet, my 10-piece packet, and I went and I tried it out for 10 days, 12 hours on, 12 hours off. By the 8th day, I slept through the night. And I tell you what, if you haven't slept through the night for years, and all of a sudden you sleep through the night, you are a happy man the next day. I was a very happy man. I said, man, this is crazy, man. This is wild. So I'm going to let this thing go out, go ahead and finish up this thing. But then, and it just manifested itself into it being very helpful to my sleep pattern. Not only that, but so obviously I needed some help up here cranially to sleep and relax. Pain in my neck, pain in my head. I had headaches for years and years. Gone. I haven't had a headache in 3 years. No, seriously, I haven't had a headache in 3 years. That's a testimonial in and of itself. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm just so happy that I don't have to deal with them. And I thought, maybe it's my neck. No, bull crap. It wasn't. It was the fact that I got sleep. I wasn't moving around at night, getting up, and I was recovering. And the regeneration process with the X39 is the thing that I'm most intrigued about. And I'm so happy that I have it, is that I have something that will help me regenerate. Now, again, I'm 65 years old. Nick is 66. I mean, if you take a look at us, we don't look our age, quite frankly. And I'm happy about that. That's not a bad thing. So that briefly is it.
So let me ask you this. You told me the story because there's something about stem cells. When you have old tissue and young stem cells, the young stem cells will have a little retracing or a battle with the old tissue until it pushes it out and wins. Tell them about your brain battle when you were wearing it. Remember, you were going up the ladder. I believe you had a retracing of the brain that day. Why don't you explain that?
Yep. It was on the 7th day. It was on the 7th day of the 10-day trial. The next day was the 8th day. I was changing a light bulb on my ceiling in my fan. And I got up on this ladder to try to change this bulb. And I fell off the freaking ladder. Are you kidding me? I'm an athlete. Well, Nick and David will say, they'll contest that, but I fell off the ladder, for crying out loud. I said, you got to be kidding me. I went to bed that night. I slept through the night. And I'm telling you, from that incident, falling off the ladder, which was traumatic to me, I'm saying, what the hell is wrong with me? I mean, I can't stay on a ladder. I was in dysfunction. Couldn't focus, and I had to go to sleep that day. And I slept all night that night, and it was wonderful. So
So what
Look.
happened the next day? Did your brain reset a bit?
It reset. That's what I'm saying. I slept through the night. And then I was feeling happy about things. And not only that, but when you've got a joint, we all have, I had swelling in my ankles, and my left knee, was painful, thinking that I might have to get it replaced. I'm telling you, I played golf with David 3 weeks ago, and my knee did not hurt me 1 ounce. It was unbelievable. And to an athlete, that's important. It really is important.
And what happened? I thought you said one day you were lifting and you always had a bad shoulder, and all of a sudden you realized you didn't hurt anymore. What was that? I don't remember. Remind us.
Look, it's like everything. It's like when you actually realize the reformation and the regeneration is working, it's not just a bunch of crap. It's not just a bunch of garbage. I'm telling you, I've been part of too much garbage in my life. I'm telling you. And so, when you get up and you put, I could put 315 on the bar and lift it. It was like, really? Are you kidding me? This is not happening. This can't happen.
You lift 315 at your age?
Hey, what? I'm still alive.
No, seriously. Like, are you kidding? 315.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I'm just asking because I started lifting, so I know weights, and 315.
Oh, okay.
So let me ask you this,
That's a
and then I
lot.
want to move to David. How many years were you in the NFL, and what was your position? Because I mean, what is a safety, and how much did you hit? Like, what's your job as a safety? Like, do you have to be super fast? Like, what are you? He doesn't have to be fast, David. Did I lose you, Ivory? Are you there? I'm talking.
No, I'm here. I'm here.
What is your position as a safety? And and you played what teams? And I said, are you like the fastest on the team, or what's going on there?
Safeties and corners are usually known as, they're supposed to be the best athletes on the team because they do so many different things. And other people are more, specific in what they need to do, like running backs. So they're running forward, and
The safeties are the most humble. They're really humble.
Yeah.
So humble.
I'm in front of my colleagues. I want them to forget it. Okay, that's the problem. So, and so, the bottom line is that yes, we have to cover these guys running 4.2 coming out, and David's a tight end, and he's running 4.4. Coming down the field, he can run right past me if he wants to, but he's agile enough to stop and turn, catch, and run over me. Right? I mean.
So you played for 9 years in Rams and in Detroit, right?
6 years with the Rams, 2 years with Tampa Bay, 1 year with Detroit.
And how fast do you have to run, and how much, like, what was your muscle weight? Like, what size is a safety? Just asking. I know everybody probably knows but me.
An ideal safety is, somewhere over 6'1", 6'2", lean, about 210. There are big safeties now that are 6'5", 230, and they grow them a little bit different. But back in the day when I played, I was pretty much prototypical 6'1", 6'1".
So you were like 6'1", 210, all muscle and fast. Is that right?
Right. And I was
let's go to David. David, how much did you weigh in your day, and how were you considered fast and strong? Like, what was your position?
Well, first of all, it's none of your business about how much I weighed. No, kidding. When I came in the league, I was considered a small tight end. I was 6'3", 220 pounds. By the time I got to the Rams, I was probably 260, 265.
This is a crazy question. I'm so sorry for being naive. Is it tight end offensive or defense, or is it tight end both?
A tight end is offensive.
Be quiet, Nick. Don't even look. Go ahead, David.
The tight end is on offense. Basically, we line up next to the offensive tackles on one side or the other. A tight end is a receiver and a blocker all in one. We're probably the best athletes on the offensive.
Yeah, I was going to say, with all due respect to those safeties, I think those tight ends, because you see the safeties, they may try to catch the ball. Tight end, witness Tony Gonzalez and a certain guy who's number 87 for the Kansas City Chiefs right now, Travis Kelce.
Right.
or Gronkowski or Dave Hill. They've got
Well,
to block
So
300
Dave
pound
Hill
people,
is the
and they got to
same
catch.
position as Gronkowski. Is that right, David?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shut up.
And it's just like the position you talk about. I mean, when I watch football now, I watch football and I watch the tight ends. I don't watch safeties or anything like that. I watch tight ends.
Yeah.
Well, just simply because I relate to that position, just like I'm sure, everyone watches their position because that's what they're more familiar with. But since I've been waiting for a while or whatever, what X39s did for me is that I dealt with pain, like shoulder pain, hip pain. I would wake up in the morning. I would have all this. It wasn't, well, I wouldn't call it pain. I would say this soreness and this tightness.
Mm-hmm.
And what X39 did for me is that it relieved me of some of those issues. And that's what I really liked about it. And so when I talk to people and when I thought about it, I said, well, I thought of other players that sort of played my position and played other positions. I said, well, if it does it for me, maybe it'll do it for them. And that's the reason why I started sending some of the patches around. And Marcy, obviously, you helped me do that. And what I was getting back from those players, and that's how basically we introduced it to Ivory. And what I got back from those players is that they felt a difference. And so what I was just trying to do is make a difference in people's lives, and relieve them of some of the issues that they deal with on a daily basis. Before I started taking X39s, every morning I woke up, that was a process. If I sat down too long, that was a process to get up and get around.
Why is that such a process today? What was life like in the NFL for those 12 years? And why now is it so hard to get up from the couch? You know what I mean? Like, wow, that's like a tight end, aggressive athlete from it's hard to get up from the couch. What happens, do you think, David, to you?
Well, I mean, you're just beating up your body. I mean, your body is not, your body wasn't created to take all these different blows and things of that nature. So, with your joints and stuff. And so as you get older, like I told you before, when I first started playing in 1976, I could play on Sunday and Monday. I could play again. It was no big deal. And then it got to Tuesday, and then it was Wednesday, and then it was Thursday, then it was a week. And then sometimes you were playing with the injuries from last week, 2 weeks after that. So it just became very difficult because the body was not having a full time to recover. And sometimes you would have to wait until the end of the season and 2 months, 3 months after the season before you would start feeling good again. So what X39s gave me, and I can tell right now when I don't or I forget, because now I'm dealing with some mental issues, because I'm getting hit in the head all the time. But when I forget to put on my X39s, I can tell by the end of the day, and I'm going like, oh my goodness, I forgot to put my X39 on. So, and right now I use X39s, I use Aeons, I use glutathione, some things like that or whatever, and they just really, really help me out. And I went in to get a physical not too long ago, and maybe about a month and a half ago, and the doctor was going like, man, and everything looks good, or all the things that I should be having a problem with, I wasn't having a problem with. And I still have some mental issues right now. There's no doubt about that, but I'm 68 years old, so. And the way I look at it is like I'm 68 chronologically. I'm 68 years old, but at the point, I think that every year of football might even put 2 years on your life as far as your lifespan is concerned. I mean, it's a hard life. I mean, it's a good life now. It was a good life even then. It's a better life now. But the thing is that I think that if you don't take care of yourself, and back in those days, we weren't overly interested in taking care of ourselves. We were. Back in the middle 70s or whatever, we were thinking about where we're going to go out and where we're going to hang out and things of that nature. I think that our culture has gotten more healthier over the last 15, 20 years because people understand that you got to do something to take care of your body. I'm not sure if we were really all into that back in the day. I mean, I'm sure there were some players that were. So what X39 and what Life Wave has given me the ability to be able to do something to take care of myself. And that's what I tell people. And I say, hey, look, try it, and like I said, 85-90% of people that have tried it have noticed a difference in their life. And that's what was important to me. And that's the reason why I do it.
David, thank you for sharing. We do have someone else special, and I'll get to you, Nick, in a minute, but we have Tyrone Poole in the house. He's also an NFLer. Why don't you unmute yourself, Tyrone, and tell us about you? And you guys may all know each other. I'm so excited to have yet another pro athlete here. Tyrone, can you unmute yourself? Oh, I have to ask you to. Here you go. That's new for me. So tell us about, where did you play, Tyrone, and what's going on with you? And have you started the technology?
Hello.
Hi.
Everybody's doing well. Wherever you are in this great world, my name is Tyrone Poole, and yes, I am a former professional football player. Left the game healthy, very healthy in my mind, healthy to the point where I'm 52 and I'm still able to go out there and run 400 meters with my daughter who's 22 and run the 100 with my son who's 16. So I took care of my body while I was playing, and I know a lot of people heard Deion Sanders say he made a business decision. And I think at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. You getting information and you plan that information accordingly. But no, I have not tried the patch. Micah actually, he and I talked, and he's been telling me about the patch. But I did, just like my years of playing in the pros, I studied my opponent. So I'm still doing my study in reference to the X39. But from what I have read and what Micah has told me, and you guys correct me if I'm incorrect in my information here, but this is not actually stem cell treatment. What it does, it activates your own stem cells, which is the big difference, I believe. And the interesting thing about it is that nothing enters, like Michael told me, enters your body. So it works off of frequencies of your body's own infrared light source. So that is good, because I told Micah, I am a very analytical person. I'm information overload. And, I make sure that I don't put anything in my body that I'm aware of that's going to do me any harm. Even while I was playing in the pros, I never failed a drug test in 12 years of starting, not just on the sideline. I started for 12 years. That's over probably 14,000 plays and 2 Super Bowls, and several NFC and AFC championship games. So I made sure I put the right thing in my bodies. And I'll say this in close. I do have the things that I'm doing life after football. I have my own products called Work That Thing supplements. And I tell people, for 22 years, my body was my business. That was my temple. And I treated my temple. I never smoked, never did drugs of any type. Even when I got injured, I never introduced my body to any type of injections. If I did have pain, I just, toughed it out, or I took some type of aspirin or leave or something to alleviate, but I never took any type of shots that would dull the pain. I always wanted to know that pain was there, and I just played through it mentally. But thank God I never had any serious injuries. So with my Work That Thing supplements, I, for 22 years, did the right thing. So my supplements, I try to do the right things by giving people the right things. So
Tyrone, may I ask you, and just noticing who you are, you can tell by your
drop.
just by what you look like, that you're clean. You know what I mean? Like you live the life you preach, and it's beautiful to see. May I ask you, you said you played professionally for 12 years. What position did you play and what team? Do you mind me asking?
Yes, I'm glad you asked me, because I heard someone say that tight ends are the best athletes on the field.
Yeah. What do you think?
Whoever said that don't know what they're talking about. They don't know football.
That's David Hill. You guys might be in it. So what do you think the best position is, Tyrone?
Corners. Corners are the best athletes on the team.
Isn't corners close to where the safety is, Ivory?
That's right.
So you're fast.
Defensive back. That's right.
Corners have to, we have to run as fast. Now we cover some fast guys. So for a corner to be able to run with a fast guy, that means that corner is faster than that receiver, because we have to run as fast as our receivers are running. And
Okay, this is a crazy question, but how fast do you run the 100, Tyrone?
Hold on.
I tell you, just I'm gonna tell you.
Hold on, Tyrone. I gotta say goodbye to Nick. Nick has to go to another commitment that he had.
Nick, thank you for coming. Is he still here, or did he leave us?
I think he had to leave.
I know. I knew he had to go. So
yeah.
Thank you, Nick, for coming. I don't think he's here still. But let's go back
go
to
ahead,
Tyrone. I just want to know what he ran the 100-meter in, and then I want to know what you ran it in at your prime. I want to see who's fast.
Go ahead. And it's 40. What you run the 40 in, Tyrone? He's a DB, so I know he knows what's going on.
Well, all I say is this right here. I give all glory to God. I don't boast on myself or anything like that. But since the question was asked, my 40 time, I ran a 4.34 on grass.
That's it. That's a beautiful time, man. I ran a 4.27 on an electric clock coming out of college, man. And so yeah, that's right. DBs scorch them, don't they?
So that's fast. I'm sorry, I'm so naive. I'm so glad that I got fast and strong NFL with us. Tyrone, I want you to know, since you haven't tried the X39, you talked to Micah, my gift to you for coming on and sharing with us. I would love to give you a full sleeve of X39 if you'd like to wear it, because I would love for you to be on the technology. And yes, you were right. The X39 activates your own. So it will, through light, your own light. So it will fit exactly how you are. I know you're clean and nothing goes in dirty in your body. And so light is as clean as it gets. And so it will activate your own stem cells for repair. And who knows, maybe you'll even run that 40 faster after the X39.
Hey, Marcy, I want to add. So Tyrone, we've been in contact, a few months, and I've seen what he's done. He goes live and he works out. I'm extremely impressed with him. He looks like he can play today, and I wouldn't want to race him. And I'm the type, I keep myself pretty fit and planning on running professional again in my 40s in the Masters division. So Tyrone is in top tier shape. I didn't know 50 plus players were still in that kind of shape. So I'm very impressed. Tyrone, are you the only one or what? I mean, what's going on out there?
Well, I have to say that Micah is a coach and an athlete and a trainer, and he is clean like you are, Tyrone, and you guys look like you have similar body types. So one day, I swear, I'm going to be like you guys. I'm starting. I'm not there yet, but you never know. I know Micah's like, yeah, right. You'll never be there.
Well, I do want to make a one said, all the banter. This is the banter between athletes, and I love it, and so I just want anybody that's not to this, please take it with a grain of salt. We want to, I like getting David riled up, and David loves getting me riled up. Absolutely.
Well, let's go back to David. When did you and Ivory play together? And what is maybe one thing that happened in your guy when you played together, and then maybe we could end the call with one thing you love about X39, and because we are at 12:30, so we've had this beautiful call. So let's end the call with you and David, Ivory, and Tyrone, thank you for sharing and coming on. We so appreciate you. And
Yeah.
maybe after your month of being on X39, you'll come back on and let us know what your thoughts are, given who you are. We would love to have you back if you so desire to come back with us, because we love everybody that takes care of themselves. Like, it's a big deal. So let's go ahead, Ivory, and finish with a story about you and David's relationship. And then I'd love David to have a story back. And then one thing you love about the X39 and why. Go ahead, Ivory.
Well, it's like I was saying before. I mean, the banter that you've seen between us, I mean, that's a natural growth out of, competing or being a competitor. But it also was one of the things that would also make us better, and that's just the real truth. And, David was beating me on this. And we were playing we were in one-on-one, and he was beating me on this route, man. I mean, he was beating me like a sledgehammer. He was just killing me. He was just catching everything. Every time he came up, he would lick his chops because Ivory was covering him and stuff like that. But I got to tell you, and it's the truth. So, it's the daily things. It wasn't like really any one thing. It's just the daily things of being a competitor that, you want to perform up and past your, what your fellow competitor is. And that was what made us really good at what we did. Okay. It was the practice and the banter and the keeping us on our toes and the competition. I mean, the competitive nature of this is all very, very, very important. And now the competitive nature is who can stay, healthiest in our advancing age, for crying out loud. And both of us played golf that day that I told you that my knee was feeling really great, and David was feeling the same way. And so for the two of us, I was saying we succeeded in something with regard to our friendship, and we have a very good friendship. I love David to death, and he brings the best out of me, because.
So you were friends when you were young and playing, and you're friends in retirement.
That's
Maybe
right.
there's something about friendship that matters.
It does. There's no question.
What's your favorite part of X39? What's one thing that, if you could leave one thing with the folks today about X39, what would it be, Ivory?
It's really important. 12 hours on, 12 hours off. Just stick to it, okay? I mean, because a lot of, my guys that I turn the patches onto, I get them the patches, I ask them, and I call them 3 days in, and I say, how's 12 hours on, 12 hours off? And they're not following it, but they expect a result. I'm telling you, if you just do what it said, what you're told to do, and do 12 hours on, 12 hours off, you will receive a blessing that even you don't know what it is, because of the pluripotent nature of this product. Okay.
And you mean by pluripotent that this product activates your own stem cells. And pluripotent means that they are stem cells that can turn into whatever cell your body needs for repair. Why Ivory says 12 hours on, 12 hours off is because we're activated by your own light. It's signal based. And if you wear it 24 hours over and over again without taking it on and off, your body gets used to the signal and it doesn't work so well. So he's right. 12 hours on to activate and repair, and 12 hours off. One more, Ivory, before I pass it to David.
No, that was it. That was good. And I'm just blessed to have this product that I can, it's a non-invasive thing. And so I don't like taking, I was just like Tyrone, for crying out loud. I like being natural as I can. And that's what I love about this product is it's just working with what you got. Work with what you got, making it better. That's great.
So David, tell me a story about you and Ivory back in the day, one about you and Ivory today, and one thing, if you could say one thing about X39 that you want to leave here today with the folks, what would it be?
Well, I'll start out with the X39 because Ivory is something else. The one thing I think that Ivory said it best or whatever. The one thing about X39 is that you have to use it. If you're going to try it, you have to use it, and you have to use it based on what it tells you how to use it. Like I said, I know when I don't wear it, And so when I first started, you know, I wore 12 hours. Be honest with you, I felt something, but I wasn't quite sure what it was. And then the next day I wore it again. And then all of a sudden, by the third day, I noticed a difference in my knee because, you know, I have this knee that I had surgery on, and you know, when the weather changes, it acts up. And all of a sudden, the weather had changed, and my knee wasn't. I was feeling pretty good. So the thing is that if you do what they tell you to do, it will work for you. I'm not saying it's going to work for you overnight. It might take 3 days. It might take a week. I know some people that I've given it to, and it's taken a week, maybe even 10 days, but they have noticed a difference in their life.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as far as football is concerned, I used to think that he was a hitter. I used to try to intimidate you. You know, he'd sit back there and try to intimidate you and you know, and stuff like that or whatever. But see, Ivory had to understand that, you know, tight ends get hit all the time anyway. I don't have to run 15 yards down the field to get hit. I got somebody right in front of me that wants to hit me and weighs a whole lot more than he does. So as far as that's concerned, but you know, Ivory's always been Ivory. Ivory's a good dude, and I appreciate that he's in my life. And you know, I mean, I don't go around hugging on him or nothing like that, but he's a good dude, and Ivory's up front with you, and he will tell you what to do. So when Ivory tells you, and when Ivory told me that the patches work for him, I mean, that I knew that was a good thing. That was a true statement, because Ivory doesn't lie to you about stuff like that. So
Thanks,
well,
man.
I just want to thank all of you for coming on. You know, I met Ivory a year ago at an event, and I didn't have anywhere to sit. I was in the back row, and there was a woman that was really sick. And, you know, some of you know that I've had symptoms of breast cancer. And so my immune system can't handle that. And I couldn't sit there. And I looked out this room. This whole room was full. And there was no place to sit but one seat by this really big man. And I was intimidated. And I thought, I got nowhere else to sit. I'm sitting by him. And then I turned my head and I said, my name's Marcy. What's your name? Because my name's Ivory Sully. And we became friends. And I'll never forget, because I knew no one at the event and he was very popular. And you know, when that happens, you a lot of times don't get included. Ivory made sure that I sat with him and his crew. I was included that day. I was mini NFL, and I'll never forget that, because you didn't have to do that, and you did. And you decided that day to be my friend, and I really, really, you know, appreciate that. I never forgot that. So,
Marsha, what year was that?
What year was that? That was what year was that? Was 3 years ago.
Yes, it was.
That was 19 or 219. That was like 2020, maybe 2019. Why do you ask, David?
Oh, I was just wondering if that was before or after he got out of jail and stuff.
See,
David,
you worry about tight ends in that. You worry about tight ends in that cranium. You know, you worry about those guys.
Yeah,
the stuff that comes out of them sometimes, just like unfathomable.
I know. We just, I mean, I have fun, and I can have fun because the patches have really helped me. So I'm not thinking about how much pain I'm in. I'm thinking about how I can make fun of my friends and stuff. So,
that's interesting. I'm not thinking anymore about how much pain I'm in. I'm thinking how to play and make fun of my friends. Yeah. David, you're so you. Go ahead.
That's right. He is. He definitely is. Absolutely.
I'm on the road. I got to get on the road. So.
Okay. Well, David, thank you for coming. Ivory, thank you. Tyrone, thank you for coming. What a pleasure. Micah, thank you for popping
Marcy,
nice
one more thing.
Good to see you, Micah. Good to see you again, brother.
Good to see you. Yeah, Demik Kemp, he's a current professional 60-meter, 100-meter sprinter, 2016 U.S. champ. He's on the call, but he's starting practice. He's also a coach.
Oh my goodness, I didn't know Demik's on. Demik, are you still there? Do you want to unmute yourself and say hi? We have a very fast man, Olympic. What was his title, Micah? What is his title?
Well, he was a U.S. Champion in the 60-meter indoor, and right now he's a current also outdoor 100-meter guy, and he runs 10 flat and 100. And the goal is to help him perform a little bit better through recovery, through health, and become one of the 9.9. That's super elite. But we were talking about fast guys, so I didn't know he was on the call until a few minutes ago.
Tamik,
But
is he still there? Maybe he had to go. Well,
yeah, he had to go. He had to
That's
go.
the fast guy.
Come
That's the
next
fast
time.
dude.
That
Yes,
if he's running 10 on 100-meter and Elite's 9.9. That's incredible. I can't believe we missed Tamik, Micah. I'm so sorry. We'll get Tamik next time. You tell him we're sorry. Next time we'll talk speed, and we will put track in with NFL. How's that?
You big ballers take up all the airspace, you big guys, Kidding.
Hey,
No problem.
We're
Yes,
all
sir.
good. Hey,
I-
thanks so much for coming.
I want to thank Nick Lowery too. Thank you, Nick. He's gone. He had to take off, but thanks, Nick.
Yeah, it's really fun to have the professionals here. When professionals say yes to something like X39, no, there's something special going on, because they sure don't have to. And professionals need it for repair, for recovery, for speed, and for current speed, like Tamik and Tyrone, right?
Yes.
So thank you so much for coming. Everybody have a great day. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.